Hello and welcome to InsightEdge podcast, where insight meets impact. I'm your host Revati Kasture, and today we have Mr. Sanjeev Sanyal, one of the most unconventional economic thinkers and member of the Prime Minister's Economic Advisory Council with us. Thank you, Sanjeev ji, for agreeing to be on this show.
It's a pleasure to be here, Revati.
Great, thank you. So from challenging Western orthodoxies to reimagining India's institutional frameworks, you have been at the center of a quiet revolution in policy making, one that's bold, strategic, and uniquely Indian. I would like to understand, you don many hats. You are an economist, you're an author, you're a policy thinker, you're an urban historian. You've been shaping India's global economic thinking or positioning. So which of these roles excites you the most?
So let me say, first of all, these things are not in any clean silos in my head.
Okay.
They're all mixed up with each other. If you ask me about economics, I might tell you a lot about the historical origins of some policy. If you ask me about the history, I might tell you a lot about the economics of why it works that way. I do a lot of work on urban issues. I work on many other cultural issues and so on. The reason is a very simple one. And I keep explaining this, that I am not attempting to build an economy. I am attempting to rebuild a civilization. So all of these are ingredients into rebuilding a civilization. India has now went through a long period of many centuries of decline. And then after all of this time, we are living at a point in time where we genuinely have a chance of coming back as one of the great civilizations of the world. And not something you can just say, like the Egyptians may say, once upon a time we were a great civilization, or others may say, that's not. We are a living civilization, a living continuous civilization. But we went through a long period of decline.
Sure.
And today, we are the generation that happens to be seeing their revival. And we really have an opportunity to get it, to go back to its past glory. So I think that is why in my head, these things are not separate projects. They are all part of the same agenda. If we want to be a great civilization, you need to get the economics right.
Sure.
You need to get our understanding of our past right.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get, our shipbuilding industry going.
True.
We need to get our financial system up and running. We need to create a culture of risk-taking and innovation and entrepreneurship. So these are not separate things. They're all, the culture affects the economics, economics affects the culture. All of these affect quality of life, our place in the world. And so, as far as I'm concerned, they're the same project.
Okay. But, as an outsider, I see it as, you've been economist at a large bank earlier, and now you're into the policy realm of the government. It kind of seems to be drastically different professions per se. So how do you kind of make this transition?
So, well, even the life I spent as a banker was fairly arbitrary in a sense. When I was 18 years old, I wouldn't have, for example, have a particularly high opinion of writing, or for that matter, of being a historian. I was very much what you would call a science maths type. Okay. I ended up doing economics pretty much by chance. I came to Delhi University. I looked at various options which were in that general. Economics tends to be in the science math zone, and the personality types who apply for those kinds of jobs. So I then happened to apply to Sri College of Commerce. One of my best friends happened to get through. So there were other places I could have gone through, but I went for this. And so and then I studied for 3 years at Sri College. I got a scholarship, the Rhodes Scholarship, to go to Oxford. Why did I go to Oxford? Well, because I got a scholarship. And then after 3 years, when that money ran out, I had an option to continue and do a PhD or something like that, or to go out and look for a job. Now, I'm not very much an academic type. I mean, today people think of me, economist, chancellor of a university, etc. But I'm not an academic type. I don't particularly enjoy spending long hours in a library. I like occasionally going to one, and maybe I probably enjoy it more today than at the university. But at that time, I really wanted to get out there and do something else. Again, I don't know what to do. So I looked for jobs. I happened to get a job in the financial market in Singapore. Firm Crosby Securities gave me a first class ticket to fly from London to Singapore. And I said, you know, first class ticket, can't be so bad. So I got into that flight, landed up in Singapore, got the job, and began working in this field. It was the most arbitrary of reasons why I did it. Turned out I enjoyed doing it. I liked the thrill of financial markets.
Right.
And I made my name there. But while I was there, I also began to find interest in history. And I then later, while working in the financial markets, I also became well known as a writer. But I also wrote fiction, by the way. So I've done many things along the way. I've also been a sportsman at various levels. People do not know this. I have one of the first paragliding licenses in this country from 1990. I used to be one of the first to be fully trained as a kayaking and canoeing, whitewater kayaking and canoeing. So I had an instructor grade qualification in that. I'm a black belt in Taekwondo. So if you ask me, what is the other thing I could have done? Well, who knows? I may have gone into tourism and set up a paragliding company.
Wow.
So, it's not because I started out in any particular path. I've gone down the path as it turned out to be, and I've explored other things along the way.
And how does family travel with you on this path?
So, I mean, my wife knew me when I was in college. So she knew my proclivities of being sort of freewheeling. The kids, I suppose, grew up with me, so they don't know any other dad. But having said that, my own sons have their own thing. Both of them went to university, did very well with at university. One of them topped his course. The other one is a dean lister and so on. But then the elder one has decided to become a full-time mixed martial arts fighter. He's a two-time national champion and represents India. And the other one is he is a musician, and he's just written a book.
Wow.
And he's just found a publisher as well. So people do different things.
Great, great, excellent. So let's kind of view around the economic space that you are right now in. So many believe that India is no longer a growth story or just a growth story. It is actually a country which is reshaping the world dynamics or reshaping the world order per se. So do you think that India is in this decisive decade? And if you do, then what defines this moment?
So it is decisive in the sense that we have an opportunity to really become a global power. Global power in all the dimensions of global power. So everybody knows that we are now the world's fourth largest economy as of this year. In about 24 months, we expect to become the world's third largest economy. In fact, in PPP terms, we already are the world's third largest economy. We are the world's largest population. So we matter anyway. The problem is that it's not just that we have a large population. We should be able to punch our own weight, be a part of the global story, of setting the rules of whatever new world emerges out of the current turbulence. So that requires a certain internal confidence to be able to punch at that weight. Otherwise, what happens, even tiny country like Singapore punches way above its weight. Whereas we are all very reticent about it. It's almost as if we somehow think it's the natural state of the world that other people set the rules and we follow them. So I have been pushing back against this line of thinking for some time. And I keep saying people, look, I went to one of the world's best universities as a Rhodes Scholar. In fact, they paid me to go there. I then worked in what was Europe's largest bank. I was their global strategist. So I have seen whatever is the best there is in the world. And there is nothing that we as Indians cannot achieve. And in fact, Indians going abroad are doing very well. They are CEOs of top companies, they are great entrepreneurs, etc. So it really rankles me that when here in India, we somehow seem to almost tie ourselves up. And so if you see some of the things I'm pushing for example, if you read my recent articles and interviews, I've argued, why doesn't India have a big seven consultancy or audit firm? Why? Anywhere in the world you go, you'll see these guys are full of Indians doing well. Even in India, they are doing well. But why is it that no Indian has created a big seven consulting firm? And the reason I believe is that somehow we ourselves have tied ourselves in knots with our own regulations, the way our tendering works, the way our professional bodies are set up, that we don't allow our own guys to set up large companies to take on McKinsey, Pricewaterhouse, and so on. Now, I have nothing against these foreign firms. Let me clarify. This is not about having a chip on my shoulder about them.
Sure.
I myself worked most of my career in foreign entities, so that it's not their problem. It's really our problem, not having created Indian entities that can take them on in the world.
So I think it ties up with what the Prime Minister's vision also is when he says that you have to have one of the top accounting consultancy firms out of India. It's essentially saying that we need to kind of be visible in the financial domain
Yes.
of the world. I think that's where this whole thing is. So it takes back me 2 years when you seeded the idea of building a sovereign or a global credit rating agency from out of India. So what led you to seed that idea and where did it come from?
So it came from the same thinking process that, as I said, I used to work in the top echelons of Europe's largest bank, Deutsche Bank. So I have actually experienced the most cutting edge financial engineering, financial research that exists, right? So when I have been using, S&P, Moody's, Fitch, these people just dominate this ratings space. But I know for a fact that there is nothing very complicated about that methodologies and technologies they use. And in fact, there are multiple times they show us that they fail. Just when you need them to tell you that something's about to default, they are usually behind the curve. So I knew in my bones that we can create a system that is better than this. And so I began to think through the methodology, etc. And it happened to be that your team happened to be visiting me at that time. And I said, hey, why don't we get an Indian firm to do this? And so that discussion started from there.
That's great. That's great. So here we are. I think we launched, and you've been an integral part of that journey. When we came and showed you for the first time what our methodology would look like. Of course, went back, studied the methodology of global credit rating agencies, saw whether there are any gaps, saw whether there's any value to be added in the whole exercise. Because then only if there's value to be added, there is recognition of the need for an alternative approach. And then we launched our services in October 2024 by announcing ratings, and you were a part of that occasion too on 39 countries. Over the past 9-10 months, what we've seen is that we've seen a convergence of ratings of global rating agencies with what ratings we assigned.
In fact, you could say more than that. You have been ahead of the curve. They are converging to you, suggesting that your methodology is better at predicting credit events.
Yeah, so it kind of validates the
Absolutely. Why validate? You should be proud. That's the point I'm trying to make. Don't use this language that they are converging. It seems like, we are all roughly the same. No, you are better. For 39 countries, you now have about 9 months of data.
Yes.
And I think there were 12 credit events.
Yes.
In every one of the cases, your methodology was ahead of the curve.
Yes.
So your methodology is better than theirs. We should say so.
Right.
So my view is that, this is something we have to be confident about. And of course, you need a track record. But I'm quite confident that as you expand out from 39 to 50, by the way, by the time you reach about 50, you will be the world's 4th largest sovereign rating
Yes, we would be.
agency.
In terms of coverage, yes.
Yeah.
Today we are the 5th largest, we would be 4th largest.
Yes, so then you'll be just snapping on the heels of Fitch and S&P and Moody's. So I really hope you do this because, as I said, it just required a certain chutzpah to do it. Right? And let me say that, whatever little I may have contributed to your methodology evolution, I think my main contribution really was simply to push you to do it. Once you did it, you discovered it wasn't so great.
We discovered there's also a need to do it,
Yes. So I think really, I'm so pleased that your team had the sort of the zest to take this and do it, and now you can see it really is going places.
No.
So let me since you're asking me questions, let me ask you some questions.
Okay.
When your team went back and said, we have this somewhat crazy economic advisor, Sanjeev Sanyal, who thinks that we can have Indian-made credit rating, sovereign credit rating system. What did your team think about this?
So at first we were, to be honest, taken back, saying that, okay, this is a totally out of the box lateral idea which has come. While, we've been operating as a domestic rating agency in India as well as in Africa, in some countries in Africa and Nepal. So we were actually having presence outside India, but to do a total global kind of assessments is something, we kind of thought, okay, I mean, obviously we respect you a lot, and therefore we said, let's think about this. Let's think as to why he's saying what he's saying and whether it is doable or not. And whether, we are going to give some value add to the investing community, or we're just going to be one more rating agency, just following one similar to the other. And then we started to evaluate, study the methodologies of these global rating agencies and see, where there are any changes which will help them align with the global realities. Because today, if you look at emerging economies, they are like 45% of the world GDP. And there are a lot of changes in the world order which have happened, whether the methodologies have evolved over a long period of last 100 years, and we feel they've not kept pace with the changing world order.
Absolutely.
Which is why we went back to the drawing board, set up a team, and let's evaluate this idea.
Yeah.
Let's kind of do it. It took us about 2 years to get to the situation where we could launch the ratings. But behind that, we had significant amount of meetings with multilateral institutions, with large corporate houses, with regulators, both in India as well as outside India, to understand how they look at these assessments and incorporate that. So it was quite a journey.
Oh, great. I'm glad you went through that journey, and maybe
yeah, we decided that, we have a platform and it's important that we get engaging minds to talk about what's happening. So we want the people to know what's happening in India, and